when we try to set it up, it's already 8 years, so it has some kind of history already.
Right.
It's that we know that the state doesn't want like any more like of interest group or association lobbying for particular interest of, let's say, gambling operators, because there is plenty of them in the Czech Republic, and the same applies to different jurisdictions. But I would say the biggest like achievement we did is establishing this kind of dialogue. Basically.
The Institute.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's working, which is some kind of miracle that those people can speak to each other. But if I need to be precise, don't worry, I will name something.
Right?
Yeah.
That's magic. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so impressed. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. A little black book. Tell me more about this one.
It's not that little.
I mean, it is thick.
Little thick black book.
So, Jan Rehola, or domestically Honza. Do you like when people call you Honza? Do you introduce like Honza?
Actually, I introduced myself as Jan because when I was studying at Turku University in Finland, it was quite confusing because there was Czech students as well, and there was like international students, and all of them was calling me Jan, and the Czech calling me Honza, and they said, okay, who's Honza? So that was very confusing for them that it's completely different name for them.
Yes.
So that's why I stick with Jan, because it's easier even with English conversation.
Yeah, it's good that you have explained that, because I can imagine at least the half of our listeners or people that follow, they wouldn't understand. So it's a domestical version of the name Jan. Okay, so the reason why we're here today is because you act as a director of Czech Institute for Gambling Regulation, right? Did I say that correctly?
You said it perfectly.
And I want to start by focusing on that at the beginning, because I know that it represents a unique concept that has uniquely, given similar organizations around the world, uniquely successful in what they are doing. And I would like to start with the question, what is the purpose of the Institute? What does it do? What do you do?
That's a good question. I need to think about it, what I'm actually doing. But to be serious, at least a bit, I think that the Institute is quite unique because it's, when we try to set it up, it's already 8 years, so it has some kind of history already.
Right.
It's that we know that the state doesn't want like any more like of interest group or association lobbying for particular interest of, let's say, gambling operators, because there is plenty of them in the Czech Republic, and the same applies to different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But what we actually really do missing in the Czech Republic, and I believe also in other countries, is the platform which enhance the dialogue between all the stakeholders on the market, because it's not just gambling operators, but it's also other like stakeholders in the gambling legal industry, like test labs and suppliers and manufacturers. But it's also the state and regulator and politicians, and definitely it's also the expert, the people who are dealing with in a treatment or help centers with the at-risk players.
Right.
It's a addictologic or specialists in addictions. And so on, and those people somehow don't speak to each other, and we see that as something which is like great obstacle in order to strive for smart regulation of gambling.
Right. So just to put it simply, you facilitate or basically make it possible for the discussion which everybody talks about in any panel or whatever regarding responsible gambling, the discussion, the cooperation between different stakeholders. You can even say that it comes up from the Reno model, which is how to put it plainly, it was the conclusion of a research on like what is the most effective approach on this. And it's that you connect all those dots that get somehow contribute to it, and you put them together. But it seems as a increasingly difficult. So what do you do different? Or perhaps I would say in a different way. How do you keep all of these parties agreeing together, talking together, and producing outcomes that are effective and tangible for change, right?
Yeah, it's a good question, tough one. I would say it's basically you need to set the goals which are common to all the stakeholders. So basically, what we are trying to do, that we are not like lobbying for lower taxation, or we are not lobbying for less regulation or something like that. But what we are trying really focus is it's player protection, prevention of gambling related harms, and fighting illegal markets. And if you have these two topics, then it's quite easy, to get to the conclusion that all stakeholders on the regulatory market have very similar, goals in those fields. And same actually applies, to the state and to the experts, because no one of them want to, underage gambling in illegal side, it doesn't really make sense. And how the regulation and I would say the whole society evolves, even the gambling industry right now is not, guys who want to, ruin the players within 2 weeks.
I like to believe so. Yeah.
No, I really like. And I think you are in the industry also for some time.
Yeah.
We look very nice, but still, time is running.
It is. The thing why I'm saying it's not very common to see it like that. To have such a committed buy-in from everybody involved. So let's take a step back. I mean, then what parties? I mean, who are the members of the Institute here in Czech Republic, and how it is governed?
So in the Czech Republic currently we have like 36 members, which represent 95% of the legal market. So basically it's the whole legal market in one bunch. We divided the institute within the section, meaning that we have sections for sports betting, for lotteries, for land-based casinos, and for test labs and for manufacturers. And this helps also, those people to have the particular interest to be solved within this section. But overall, there are some common goals. And I use the analogy of cycling peloton when I was establishing the institute, because I think it's a great analogy, because even within the cycling peloton, you have like different teams. They are competing each other. They have different strategies, but they are striving for the same goal, which is the finish line, to achieve as a first. But for 90% of the race course, they go together. They go in a peloton because of the headwind, and at the 10% they compete. And the same we try to implement in the institutes, meaning that we are trying to focusing on those 90% which are common for everybody, and at the end of the day they can compete. But for this 90%, like protecting the players and fighting illegal markets, I think you can find somehow the common grounds, and not only for the industry itself, but also for the states and for the experts.
Right. So if I understand it correctly, the Institute is not that different from other industry associations. Basically, you have representatives of companies which are involved in the market, but here we add to the mix the experts, people who engage around responsible gambling, who engage around law, who engage around research, and they all work together. Right.
Yeah, that's correct. So there is this like additional layer over the existing association, and so it differs in two basic ways, I would say. The first one is that normal association, it is usually really lobbying for particular interests of the members, which is something we don't do. We don't like lobby for interests of one company or something.
Yes.
And we really try to put everybody on board. So it's a unique, it's uniform. There is just one institute within the Czech Republic, and all the existing association are also members of the institute. So we try to build like, let's say, umbrella association. And it comes from my experience when I was the director of the gambling department at the Ministry of Finance. For us at that time, it was very complicated to discuss the industry, because if there are, 6 association, you send, some, let's say, commentary procedure for some, opinions. You get 4, replies from 6 association, and A is go against B and C is go against D, and then what do? You just, put it in a cupboard and do it as you think is good, and it's not always good, So we try to also bring like added value, not just for the industry to be heard, but also for the state, because even for them, it's much easier to have one partner to discuss, So all the, fighting and discussion is ongoing here within the institute. But towards the state and the experts, we communicate, one voice, which don't have to be always like uniform, but we can say, okay, let's say 60% of the members are, in favor of this solution, and those are the arguments, and 40 is against that, and they are proposing this, and those are the arguments.
Yeah.
And then the state can decide. But they decide, they get, one sheet with the same methodology, and they, for them it's much easier than have, meetings with 6 associations to meet one.
Yeah, I will dig deeper into, how it all started and how all these people work together. But you have touched on a important part of such an institute, and that is the cooperation with the state. Because what you've been saying, it sounds like in this particular structure, state has an organization that it can lean on when they build legislation, when they build regulation. And it seems like that in many countries, this does not work. I would say that this is almost a unicorn in the world, with maybe one exception. I do not offend anyone. It's just, how I see things and what I can see like from the position that I'm in. What seems to be similar to what is here in Czech Republic is the setup that they have in Ontario with iGaming Ontario. And as far as I know, over there, it's not the organization which would have directly representatives of the industry, operators and so on, but basically works as a middle partner between the industry and the regulator. Over here, you basically put that into a one institute, one organ, right? One, institute. But, still, how did you achieve to get that amount of trust that especially the regulator and the state can cooperate in this way with a group of industry representatives, including experts, basically what the institute is here in Czech Republic?
I think the trust is not built by, declaration itself.
Right.
It's based on the result and outcomes, which is tangible and which you really deliver. So at the beginning, it's really necessary to have like person and who are like believed in, who's known by the state, by the experts, and somehow can express is like genuine intent, to promote the safer gambling industry and workable regulation. And those people at the beginning, like speaking about our advisory board and expert council that we established, and they are the most I would say, experienced and well-known like experts in the fields of psychology and addictive specialists and economic behavior and these kind of things. And those people, they need to have some courage at the beginning, in order to be part of the project. But they quite, I would say, soon discovered that they are not just, fig leaf covering that we are not very like genuine in what we are trying to do. And from the beginning they saw that we really want to like establish new standards when it comes to the protecting the players. And from this the trust is built, and this like advisory board is something like I would say safe interface for other like universities and institutions who want to cooperate with us, because they see, okay, there are two people that everybody knows, which has great like integrity when it comes to everything. So if they are there and they are cooperate with them, it should be also safe for us, because so this interface is very important. And I'm very grateful that they were like enough courage at the beginning, to start to cooperate with us. And for us, it was really something that from the beginning, we need to deliver some tangible results for them to really see it has some impact, and it makes sense for them to cooperate with us.
One of the questions that I had prepared was, what do you do in order to avoid being labeled as a lobbyist group? And it seems like that it hides in the strong integrity and also in sort of like a layered approach, given the fact that you have so many members from different spectrum, experts, researchers, as we've discussed that, it seems like that could be really working. But we've been talking quite enough about, or quite much about, like, how it all works, who is inside. And at the beginning, I said that there are some unique achievements. So tell me, what is the biggest achievement that you would like? Number one thing that the Institute and its partners, and I think that it's fair to say everybody involved has achieved so far.
It's I don't want to move in circles, but I would say the biggest like achievement we did is establishing this kind of dialogue. Basically.
The Institute.
Yeah. No, I mean it's working, which is some kind of miracle that those people can speak to each other. But if I need to be precise, don't worry, I will name something. But definitely, I think like landmark project is Iris. So it's a cross-operator tool for in time identification of at-risk players, and for effective intervention, which is quite unique because what we are doing here in the Czech Republic with Iris is that it's not tool that is used by like different operators, and each of them use like different tools, and they are not sharing the data. What we achieved is that we are. So one of the achievements we did last year actually is also like amending the existing Gambling Act, where from the October of 2025 there is a new provision saying that the operators are able to share the pseudonymized data of the players in order to have this kind of systems, which is cross-operator. So we get a label from the parliament that this kind of system has the value. And should be implemented in order to de-risk the gambling, activity at all. So we have this kind of, proof that we can do it. And what we are building is this system, which is unique, I think, in the point of view that it collects data from all the operators, and we are looking for the data. Not from the perspective of the operator, but from the perspective of the customer, which brings I think, great value in two things. First is that if you are looking from the perspective of one operator, then the player could be seen as not risk at all because he's not playing with the operator A that much, but with operator B he's as a risk. So you can miss the picture, and also it confused the player because the operator A, when it's communicated with the player, he's saying, okay, you're playing completely fine, you are at the level of risk, you are 0. And operator B is saying, okay, you are at risk and we are stopping bonuses. And so the player must be confused. Yeah. So by this, I think it's not competition among the operators, but they are on the same level. They set up the same standards, and they are trying to communicate with the player, all of them, the same message at the same time, which I think is even like much more effective to the player from the perspective of the player, because he receives not the messaging which.
Right. So if we are to put a label on that or to categorize it, it would be a single customer view. The way how they call it in the United Kingdom, where they have been, I would say, they have been spearheading that, basically, running this, which was coming from the regulator as a voluntary participation of operators. I'm not sure how many have joined in, but it would cover just a fragment of the market. And you are saying that in here, it came from the operators, more or less, as part of the Institute. Like, this is a good thing to do in order for our gambling industry and our business to be sustainable. Let's come up with the idea and let's talk about it with the regulator. And the regulator would then implement it in a way which is aligned with everybody involved. Right?
Yeah.
That's magic. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so impressed. I mean, I couldn't even believe it, because when you compare it, when I think about it, that was the reason why I was asking about the trust, because the first thing that comes to my mind when something like this does not happen, it's like trust. And it would be also the part of, the first principle of capitalism, like maximize your income and your the revenue generation of the company. And what this does, practically, is that we would decrease that in order for us, to be here for a long time. And also to have a good relation with the public, also to have a good relation with the regulator. And finally, reduce the gambling-related harm, which, Okay, let's stop here. That's really impressive. Let's stop here. And let's talk about how this all started. You were saying that the organization does not work as a lobbyist, but you had to work as a lobbyist, right? Because you had to convince people to come in, to join, and to work on that. So how did you become the director of this? What is your... How did you become director? I mean, what was at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I was joining the, let's say, gambling regulatory sphere just by, I would say, decision when I was like a law student at the Charles University here in Prague and then Turku University in Finland. It's, I know that I don't want to be like expert on everything and anything, you know. So I really think that I want to focus on some particular area where I want to get some expertise and want to be recognized as somebody who has some expertise in this field. And I picked two favorites for that. One of them was sports law and one of them was gambling law. And I saw those two sectors as somebody where, you know, it's very complex. It's very interesting. It has like great social impact, but there are not too many experts in it. It's somehow, you know, stuck in past, in let's say in last century.
It's not a bad strategy. You will not be lost in a flood of experts, right?
Yeah. So I bet on gambling law, and, and actually I think it was a good choice. And just straight when I finished my master and starting my PhD, I did, you know, interview with the Ministry of Finance. I started to work as a lawyer in a gambling department. Let's say, I don't know, within 2 years I was the director of the department. I was a member of the European Commission expert group on online gambling regulation, and it was very fast. I was not very ready for it. And I experienced what I was mentioning here, you know, that for us, even when we're trying to be like open and get, you know, the experiences, it was very tough because it was for us, it was very risky to speak with the gambling industry because we were immediately accused that you are, you know, under influence of them and what about, and therefore, like, when I left the Ministry of Finance, I immediately said, okay, let's solve this kind of problem. We need to like establish some partner that could be understandable for the state, but still can, you know, put together all the like legal industry and try to cultivate it in a way that it's even like for the industry itself in a long run. From the business perspective, it also makes sense, you know, for them to be more responsible than the industry was, let's say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. And so then you've that was the end for you working in for the regulator of the ministry. And then what? I mean, you start knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Right.
If you call this lobbying, then I was lobbying.
I mean, okay. I mean, I was just having fun. We do not have to necessarily call it lobbying, but you had to get a buy-in. You had to knock on some doors. You had to convince some people. You have to put some people in one room behind one table and influence them, you know, convince them with this one. And again, I will compare it with most of the stuff that we see abroad is showing that it's very difficult to achieve that.
Yeah. I think it was just, you know, it's easy. I just say, okay, I go around the biggest players on the market and I say, okay, I have this kind of idea. I think it could work because otherwise the system that we have currently is not working. You must see it. You have like different association. All of them is saying, you know, different voices, different messages, and it's just a mess for everybody. Let's try to build this kind of platform that will be for everybody. What is also quite unique, I would say, is that you know, everybody has the same. The biggest operators, they don't have like more votes or something, you know. It's a level for everybody, so everybody has one voice when we are voting some kind of stuff. So it's even for small companies, it makes sense to be part of it because the voice is heard. And for big companies, it also makes sense because even for them, it's better if it's the voice of the whole industry rather than, you know, 2-3 big companies, you know. So I just, you know, knock the doors, as you're mentioning, and asking them, okay, if I set up something like this, would you like to join it or not? I explained the same principles, that it should be based on really principles of transparency. It should be data driven, like evidence based. It's not like lobbying as agreeing in shadow corners of parliamentary building and trying to influence the future form of regulation. This is something we don't do. We do surveys, we do studies, and we present the outcomes.
Right.
And I think it somehow the whole ecosystem and mentality change. I think before this, I call it lobbying 1.0, was effective. I have a friend of mine, and you can connect with him, and you can speak with him, and then he do something because of something.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that we are in different time right now, and this time the politicians, they want to do something which makes sense and which is also like supported by the society. So you need to explain the things also not only to the politicians, but you need to persuade the society, educate them. That banning the gambling is not the best way. You can regulate gambling because it's not regulation, and it has like more like adverse effects than regulate it, and you need to do it like more in a complex way than just meeting one guy and persuade him. It's much more work, but at the end of the day, it's I think the only way how you can really influence the future of regulation is by delivering the information and studies which others are not able to deliver, and therefore by studying them, and we are not forcing them. We just produce some materials and say, okay, this is our recommendation, and it's up to you. You decide. You can go this way. These are the reason behind that. But if you don't, we are not like threatening you. Okay, we will go to the biggest newspapers and we will say, okay, you are bad guys because you are not following our advice.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, it requires a healthy amount or healthy way of, I'm going to say lobbying, even though, I mean, we clearly distinguished between these two. But it is required. In order to do something good, you need to provide this, and you need to convince people. You need to influence. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. But still, when you were speaking, I was thinking about how the hell did it work around here, and I was thinking about the way how I'm gonna ask it, because. So why do you think it worked here like this? And when you compare it with all those situations when it didn't work. I mean, I believe that they might not have tried it as you did. But what was it? What was the concept? What was the people? Was it the timing? How? I mean, why?
I think it was all of this,
Combination.
It was the people, because it's also, I think, what is important, that if you look at the other association, it's usually, one-man show where there are like two people in maximum, I think, trying to do some stuff. But what you currently need to do is, it's a lot of work. It's not work for one people, just to represent the industry. You need to really produce something. If you are building the IRIS, if you are building a responsible gambling project we have, if you are building the help centers of 84 counseling centers that we have, if you are building helpline education center, it's you can't do it in one person,
Right.
So it's basically, you need to have like very good combination of team, which is like really involve and believe in the idea. It's a good timing, because at the time the industry saw, okay, we have many associations, but we are not heard. Nobody speak with us, nobody believe us. Nobody is. They are afraid of us. And
of course, yeah.
And that's not like a good setup for.
They are. I mean, like.
Sorry, I just remember one story when I was like part of the GREF, which is the Association of the European Regulators.
Yeah.
I was in Oslo. There was a annual meeting of the GREF members, and I was speaking with my Swedish colleague, and he was saying, okay, that he was accused that he was in Las Vegas for G2E, for biggest conference and exhibition, and he was saying, okay, it's crazy, because we are the regulator. We are set that we should like educate ourselves. The biggest complaints is that we don't understand the industry, and we go there. We are accused, and there was I don't know, like 2 weeks after that, there was a biggest exhibition here, not far away from here in Holešovice, and at exhibition center. I was there, and there was great articles that the director of the gambling department is on exhibition of the gambling industry. You know? And I was like, come on, that's a great scandal, you know. So if there is, you know, I don't know, we have like Apple of the Year, you know, the exhibition or contest among, you know, the people in agriculture. Of course, there is a minister of agriculture.
Yes.
You know?
I mean, they belong there.
Yeah, and nobody is really like saying, "Oh, what you are doing there? You are lobbied by those agriculture people, and don't go there. Be in a stuck in a tower and speak to nobody, and then we are sure you produce the best, you know, regulation." So it's also this kind of mentality. You need to like somehow like fight against it, you know, because it doesn't make sense. Because the way, of course, it's necessary to speak with the industry, with the experts, because if you are not speak with them, how you can do the regulation correctly? Yeah,
it changes so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely like if you put something that is purifying the muddy waters, you know, and it will just start to become crystal clear everything, and suddenly things work in different areas. Whoa, okay. So what other work the Institute does? I mean, we've discussed Iris briefly. Cool name, by the way. But what else is there? I know that there is much more to it.
Yeah. So Iris is within the Responsible Gambling Project. We call it Zodpovědné hraní in Czech, so it's not very original name, but it has like, I would say, original content. So again, what we do here is we try to put everybody on one word. And what we did there, that we also like cooperate with the treatment and help centers. We have 84 help centers across all the Czech Republic we cooperate with. We support the operation of the national helpline. And again, I think this is the great example how this like connection together is working, because this helpline was working even before we started to support it, like financially, but also when it comes to the promotion of this helpline. But the year after we started to support it, and we put the information about this helpline on the websites of the operators, the number of calls and contacts to the helpline, it increased by 600%. You know, it multiplies by 6 within 1 year. So it's a proof for me that you know the helpline was even before, but nobody knows about it.
Right. So it was because it was much more signposted. I mean, like operators have referred to it as part of their communication packages.
We agreed with the operators. Okay, for your customers, you know, because for the players it's very tough, you know, to find where to call, or for their relatives, you know, where you call if your partner has a problem or your child, you know, but. Even if the player wants, for them is you need to Google it, you know, and then you will get, you know, I don't know, 15 different numbers, and you don't have like any kind of reference which call you should. It's you know it's sensible for them, you know. It's not that easy, you know, to call somebody, say, hey, I have maybe a problem with the gambling, can you help me, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So it's very important to build this trust, you know, and if the operator themselves, you know, say, okay, if you have a problem, there's this helpline you can call. You will get, you know, the treatment. It will be confidential. It is working like this, and you did some credibility. You get some you make it aware that there is this kind of offer. That they start to use it. You know, so before, if those two worlds are not communicated, there is a helpline, but there are not many people calling there, and there is you know, websites of the operators where the players who need to seek help, they are, but they don't know how to call, and it's just you connect them, and the magic is starting happening. You know?
It makes complete sense, because then there is like a single point of truth or single point of information that if everybody can get lean on that, it will also spread through the individual players, and then like there is a single strategy for that, and we got this covered. So again, I mean, it helps on all the fronts to be more successful with that. So I know that here in Czech Republic you have a self-exclusion scheme shared among the operators. Was this the result of the work in the Institute as well, the way how it was implemented?
This actually is not self-regulatory. It comes from regulation, so it comes from the state. I think it started, or the idea started even before the Institute. but definitely we support it. We think it's a good thing. Currently, in the list of excluded person are 200,000 people, or more than 200,000 people. So I think in general it's a good idea. But what we did last year is that we did study and we did survey among those players who are excluded, and we found out that a great percentage of those people are playing with the illegal market. So then we need to think about it, how this is like structured, because it doesn't make sense if the illegal offer is not like effectively blocked. What makes sense, to block those people from legal market where at least some safeguards are in place, and send them to the illegal market. So this is something that need to be like explored. What we also did that for those people, because when they were excluded, they just get a letter from the ministry, you are excluded, but there was no information when they can seek some help, how to solve the financial problems, where they can some help when it comes to the psychological treatment and these kind of things. So we managed with cooperation with the Ministry of Finance to include the information, about this helpline and how they can contact it. And so that's something which is again the proven that for the state it's up there. So, okay, you are excluded. Ciao. But still, this is the biggest, hint that those players are at risk that you can get.
Yeah.
If they voluntarily ask to be excluded. Okay, so actually they consider themselves as somebody who has some problem with the gambling. So it's a great opportunity to, serve them some information how they can get some help. But the state is not using that if they are not pushing to do it. So we are trying some ineffectiveness that you find in a system to solve by, connecting those words which are usually not communicated.
I mean, it makes complete sense when you establish such a cooperation on the market where you said 90 or 95% included. So if they agree on something, they know that the whole market is going to follow it.
Yeah.
So the only threat is the black market, the unlicensed one, which then changes the mentality of the operators as well, and they can have a joint action again against the illegal market. And I know it sounds like you do a lot around this subject, and I can even see that you have brought a little black book. Tell me more about this one.
It's not that little.
I mean, it is thick.
Little thick black book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already like second edition we did, and it's we try to put together all the information about the black market in the Czech Republic. So we did like several studies and several surveys. We did it with the independent authorities like the Academy of Sciences. We did it because it was at the time in the second edition. Also, the Slovak Institute is existing. Maybe we discuss it later on. So we did the same survey in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, same methodology. Therefore, we can compare the results. And we really try to describe the black market, because the black market is tough to describe, Nobody is really like, it's not that easy to measure it. It's not that easy to understand. It's developed much faster than regulated market.
Yeah, always one step behind are we, right?
Yeah. So that's what we try, to do it in a way it's understandable for the majority of people, for stakeholders, for regulators, for politicians, for people that are in charge to do something with it. And we try to describe and promote some solution how it can be tackled,
So to whom do you distribute this?
Yeah. It is distributed to anybody. So we distribute it to the stakeholders which are like somehow involved in gambling regulation, but also to the public. So we were also approached by several people who are like publishing the books, whether they can also like publish it. It's on our website, so you can for free download it right now in Czech language and English language. So we really try to do, again, like educate the public about the situation of, and it's not about only illegal gambling, it's about the new phenomena, like, I don't know, like loot boxes, like opinion trading, and these kind of things that are, for maybe some of us is understandable, but for majority of people, they simply don't know what's the crypto casino, and how poly market is working. Okay.
Yes.
Now maybe 10% of people knows, but 90 still say, okay, I don't know what's option trading.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I can imagine that there are not many players they would show like natural interest about this. You need to somehow deliver it to them, right? Because, for example, in the States or in the North America, I would rather say, they quite often talk about like education among communities. We do not live in such community. We are not organized in that way here in the Central Europe, as far as I understand. So I guess it does not really work here that you would have, like a community leader who could get different kind of information and who could like educate people through their different activities. So, I mean, given the work that you have done on this book and on the awareness, what do you think is the, again, effective approach on how to educate players about this so they would become aware, self-aware, and then perhaps vigilant about what's going on, how things work, and then ideally to be in better control of their gambling?
I mean, like this book is for like public at all, but it's more really for stakeholders. So it's for the people that understand, they want to understand the topic. But if you want to educate the public, the players, whether they can distinguish among the legal and illegal offer, how to distinguish what are the risks of playing on an illegal market, the book is not the greatest example because nobody really want to read the books.
Big book, right?
Yeah.
But it has a lot of pictures. I mean, it can be engaging as well.
But what we are doing this year, we also like agreeing with the main partners of the responsible gambling project we have. I think we should name them because they are really like doing great job. So
we can put them in a caption.
Okay. No, I mean like so we agreed with the Tipsport, with Fortuna, with Allwin, which is from Saska, and with Šance, which are 4 biggest operators on the Czech market. So we agreed that we will finance again like voluntarily big public campaigns about the illegal gambling and about the risk of gambling at all. How to educate the people that is clever and wise. To set up some limits. How to distinguish among the legal and illegal sites.
Right.
What are the threats of illegal sites, and so I think this I believe it will be like even like better tool how to educate the general public about the current problem we have with the illegal market in the Czech Republic, and also for them to take some steps, to prevent some risks that are associated with illegal gambling.
I think it's a reasonable approach because players are quite well connected with the industry, and what is the alternative? You can run a statewide campaign about this. And I'm not sure about, what is your opinion? What about running a statewide campaign, like a commercial on the primetime TV about being aware and vigilant against illegal gambling?
That's actually what was at the beginning of this our activity, because the states make some consultation, the Czech government, and they come up with solution, or one proposal was that after each TV ad of the gambling operator, there should be the same length of anti-gambling, commercial news.
Right.
Yeah, campaign.
There was the name anti-gambling, right?
It's a content that.
Okay.
And for me, it's say okay. It doesn't really make sense, It's like that. There would be an ad saying, "Okay, let's play. It could be fun," and then it would be, "Don't play because it will kill you."
Yeah, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah. So for the player again, he will be completely confused. So he said, "Okay, maybe it's not the best way how to do it. Just to connect them like together, these two messages." And the best way, again, by studies, is not to shock or threat the people, It's to educate them and give them tools to control their behavior. So it need to be do it in much more wise way than just say don't gamble, because it has no influence. It's like don't smoke, or these pictures on a cigarettes. It's not working.
I like your answer because it isn't like I would have a great experience with it, but it makes sense because even though if you have a market which is going towards this direction, I believe that you are still dealing with a lot of stigma among the general population. And even though if you put out something that, you know, looks effective on the paper and can really influence the ones that are involved, you can have 75% of people who will just get upset when they will see such a communication, you know, in a primetime TV commercial. So yeah. Fine. Let's get back to Iris. Okay, so single customer view, right? So what stage is it in at the moment? Again, self-regulation initiative, getting to the regulator, basically the lawmaking. Okay, where is it now?
So currently it's in a phase where we have this permission from the last October that we can share the pseudonymized data. So we are building the data set, or we are building the data storage, which is secured. So we are currently working on this, and we are like doing, let's say, pipelines to those operators who are connecting to Iris. So we integrated already 2 out of those 4 partners. And by the end of this year, we should be connected all of them together. So they will be sharing the pseudonymized data. We will have the model that will evaluate the risk score of the particular player. And we will be sharing the risk score with those operators. And we will have the methodology with each particular risk score of the player, how the operators should do the intervention. And we will collect the information, how the intervention is done. And then potentially, and that's a big picture, I think in the future, my idea and my vision is that the intervention won't be done by the operators themselves, but it will be the Iris team that will be doing the intervention on behalf of the operators. Because again, it doesn't make sense to me that, because currently we are working with the 4 biggest operators, but still it's 4 operators. But when it's 50 of them or 20, it doesn't really make sense, you know, and you need to have rules who is communicated with the players.
Yes.
The
like
operator.
who owns it. Okay.
And then you need to like collect the information. Okay, the operator 25 called this player, and this is the answer. You need to get again back all this information. So for me, it really makes sense if the Iris would be like guardian angel of those players. They will be overseeing its play regardless which operator he's playing, and you'll be like the body, you know, saying, okay, I know that you played last week with Saska and today you are playing with Fortuna, but still, I know that you are maybe on a way to be like risk players, and this is the recommendation I gave to you at Fortuna web page, but the same applies here, you know. So it will be tough for the players to escape, you know, from this kind of system, because otherwise, you know, if this system is not like level standards for everybody, and let's say operator A is more strict than operator B, then those players, you know, they will just go to the operator B where it's not like pushed towards more responsible play. And what's the sense, you know? Then from business perspective, the operator S is losing the customers because he's more like responsible, and it's not helping that customer because he's playing anyway. You know? So again, from this perspective, I think it makes sense for the operators to cooperate, because they know if I treat this player in this way, all the players on the market are treating this player the same way.
Right, yeah.
So that's, I think, if you ask how you manage to convince them, I think this is the biggest, you know, selling point, because
we are on board. Everybody's on board with this.
We are not competing who is like more responsible, and you can be sure that if you are targeting this player with this kind of communication which discourage them from gamble more, this same message they will get in all the operators where they try to play.
Yeah, and it's making their boardrooms calm, right? I mean, no one's stressing about. I mean, like, it's, you know, I call it a self-exclusion paradox, because it's like this second minor thing, which I'm sure it happens. I mean, it's natural. I mean, if we are going to self-exclude this player, and if we will pay big amount of attention that they won't be able to gamble with us, what are our assurances that they will not gambling with our competitors? And then this paradox is dissolved by this. But let me break the concept a little bit. So what I was hearing were 2-3 things. So the first thing is that currently you have 4 operators which you are kind of like piloting it, right? But let's say it's going to cover all the members of the Institute, those 90+%. it works that the data is anonymized and shared. So I'm going to register with operator A, and then there is some sort of a data vault where my data is under a code 143H, whatever. When I register with a different operator, it will just get a match. So the vault will not know that it was Simon here and Simon there, but it will be connection with some unique marker.
Identifier.
Identifier. That's the word. The second thing is that you will have a common approach, the shared methodology on, let's say, the markers of harm. So which behavioral triggers are saying what. So everybody will follow the same textbook, which will make everybody calm, right? I mean, if we will mark this player as risky and this amount, all of the other operators will do the same. And the third thing, which is like, it's even weird to say, like, best of it all, because so far it has been so cool.
Stop it.
But the thing that the interventions or interactions will then be happening outside of the operators, it's just brilliant. You know, I remember we were discussing it when we were working on the self-exclusion standards project, basically, you know, how self-exclusion should be implemented at online operators in order to be effective. And we were discussing the options like, okay, if someone wants to return from a self-exclusion, what should happen? And it was like voted off from everybody. It is unethical that the operator should be having these discussions. It should be some uninvolved third party. So great roadmap. Okay, in October, fine. When do you expect that this will jump on like a fully operational?
Yeah, I hope at the end of this year it will be fully operational. Definitely, it won't be like the final version, you know, because it's a model. So this model, once the data is flowing through it, it will be like developing, you know, and the intervention will be also like the beginning of it, you know. So we need to then, you know, learn which intervention it's effective, which not. Which again, I think it's a great opportunity that we have, you know, because you can measure everything. So you will see, okay, this kind of message is not working. This kind of message, you know, change the behavior of the player in this way, and you can like all the time adapt to the research that you do, and that's, I think, really the great examples how this like new AI and LLM models and everything can really like in practice be much more effective than if the people doing by themselves. You know, it's impossible before those models were existing. You know,
it really makes everything easier with the Institute, right? It's super interesting, but we are running out of time. I wanted to touch upon the fact that the Institute does not work only here in Czech Republic. You already mentioned Slovakia, and I know that it has its version in Slovakia, which is governed by people over there with David Lenčeš. And I know that there are some future plans. So tell me, how do you think about expanding this blueprint and this concept further abroad? And what's already happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's not idea of building the biggest institution in Europe. It's not our goal. But what we really want to do is transfer the idea and the principles of working in other jurisdiction. And as you mentioning, it's already existing in Slovakia. It's 2 years when it was established, the Slovak Institute. It's completely independent association. So, but we have just agreement and contract among each other.
Yes.
About some principles, about some guidelines, how you are working, how you are not working, about ethics and these kind of things, which are in place. And actually, the same is currently happening in Poland. Where Institute was established maybe I think last week. It was established formally, and potentially it's more that we are not like, we don't have like strategy of expansion to the whole Europe, but it's more that then the operators who are members of the Institute in the Czech Republic and which are the players which are active on multiple jurisdictional market, they are saying, okay, we like how it's working here in Czech Republic, and we need something like this in Romania, in Poland, in Slovakia, in Portugal. So can you just somehow like do it there? I said, no, I can't. But what I can do is to help, the competent people who believe in this idea, really, and they have it in heart. I can like cooperate with them and help them to establish this kind of institution in other jurisdiction. And my like long vision is that once you have this kind of like network within multiple jurisdictions sharing the same, way how they work, you can do the studies that we are doing, you can use the same methodology and you can compare the results, and the task we are discussing today, like protecting the players and fighting illegal markets, you don't like protect the players differently in Czech Republic or France, you don't fight illegal market differently in Slovakia or Italy, Of course there are some differences, Of course there is like different like regulation which is different, history, whatever. But basically you can't solve it like on like one national level, You need to answer it on and it doesn't make sense to me like to have this discussion like 28 times in Europe, and solve a reinvent wheel like 28 times and say, hey, we have different wheel and it's squared, this one. And so to me it really makes sense, and I'm quite surprised that we don't. This kind of industry doesn't have like this kind of tool to share, the knowledge, to share what is working in one jurisdiction than in another. It's so embarrassing, I think. We are saying we are so technically developed and we are such a great entrepreneurs and we are technologically advanced, but still nobody really knows what's happening. I don't know in particular jurisdiction.
I'm not sure if it's like the typical thing around gambling, but I think that when it comes to the regulation, responsible gambling, but also commercial, we really work in silos around here, and people normally tend not to share this and not to cooperate this, but this needs to be replicated. I mean, the Institute got to have children because it works. I mean, and I was thinking, and this is my last question because we really need to end this. We were talking about superlatives all the time in here. And I want to ask you, are there any negatives that comes with it? Threats, situations, because it cannot be just all, pink and fluffy. So I hope you can bring something
which is bad on the table.
Yes. So are there any negatives, maybe some things to be careful about?
Yeah, I think the negative is that it's very like fragile because, as you are mentioning, it's quite unusual. So you make the people who are not speaking to each other to make them speak with each other, and you make the group of people who are. They usually don't think about the second group in a good way. So if you ask the state about the operators and the operators about the state and the experts and people working in treatment centers about operators and even state, they all of them see the others as some evils. And therefore it's very fragile. So you need to always like be. Presented and if you find out that there is some misunderstanding which is all the time happening, and it's not only about those three words but even within the gambling operators and suppliers and whatever, you need to be always there and try to be very strong in holding the idea and somehow like try to mitigate all these like things that are happening, because
figure it out.
I think it's very it's tiring, I must say, and sometimes it's very demanding to try to make those people speaking with each other. However, like naturally they try to go like they're like magnets. We are not like in this way and this way. So you need to always like turn them out in order to be like sticking together rather than opposing each other.
But now there is a good example, right? I mean, every time they will come into conflict, you can say like, but they can get along in Czech Republic. Come on. Okay, Jan, thank you very much. It was a very good conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I am glad that I have a better overview about how it works, and about the ways about areas that it can improve also for abroad. And hopefully all of our listeners or watchers understand it now as well too. So thanks again. It was great.
Thank you very much, Šimon, for intervention. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.